Hey everyone, welcome back to Hindsight is 2020. I am your coach and mentor, Sherry. And if this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. I'm so glad that God brought you to this episode because I don't think you got here by accident. Today we're going to be talking about something that I feel the Lord has really been pressing on my heart lately to talk about. And that is this question that so many of you have been asking yourselves, but maybe you're just almost too afraid to say it out loud. So I'm going to say it right now. That question is, am I married to a narcissist? Now, before I get into the signs, I need to lay a foundation because I don't want this to be just another list, okay? We can chat GPT it, we can Google it, we can figure it out. We can get all kinds of information on narcissism. But I want you to understand that what you are experiencing, maybe what you are living in right now, some of you are actually in it right now. God has already told us about it. This is nothing new. This is not some modern psychological phenomenon that just started happening. The Bible already described it, and Paul already warned us. He talks about it in 2 Timothy chapter 3. Now, in 2 Timothy chapter 3, Paul writes to his mentee Timothy, and he says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come." And then he goes on to give this list. And I need you to really hear this list because I want you to see something. He says, men will be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. Now, I want you to sit with that just for a second because Paul was not just describing a average stranger, okay? He wasn't talking about somebody out in the world somewhere that you'd never encounter, right? You'd never know this kind of person. Paul was describing somebody you could be in close proximity to right now. Paul was talking about somebody that you could be in covenant with, somebody who you could be sleeping with, okay? So just know that 2 Timothy chapter 3 is prophecy. Paul was giving his mentee, Timothy, information. He was giving him a picture of what human behavior would look like in the last days. And we're in it. We are living in it right now in 2026. And what psychology has named narcissism, the Bible calls sin. It calls it the flesh. It calls it the carnal nature operating at full capacity with zero submission to God. Paul wasn't writing a psychology textbook. He was writing a warning. And the warning was, these people are coming, okay? Know them by what they produce. Now, Jesus says, you will know a tree by its fruit. Do you see the similarity there? Now, in Galatians chapter 5, Paul does it again. He lays out the fruits of the Spirit, right? We know it as love and joy and peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And then he contrasts it with the works of the flesh. And the works of the flesh are selfish ambition, fits of rage, discord, jealousy, and dissension. So if you want to know if you're dealing with a narcissist, stop looking at what he says to you and start looking at what his life consistently produces. See, fruit does not lie. A tree cannot produce what it does not contain. Do you understand? Now, real quick, I need y'all to know who Paul is because his words carry a lot of weight, and I just want you to understand why. So, Paul was not a comfortable man writing comfortable things from a comfortable place, okay? Before he was Paul, the apostle, he was Saul. He was a man hunting Christians down and having them arrested and killed. It was horrible. He was religious. He was a Pharisee. He was zealous. He was completely wrong, really. But God stopped him, literally blinded him on the road to Damascus, and he said to him, "You are persecuting me." And from that moment, his entire life changed direction. So after his conversion, Paul was beaten with rods, he was stoned, he was left for dead, he was shipwrecked, he was imprisoned, betrayed by the people he trusted, and eventually he was executed for his faith. So when Paul writes about dark people, difficult people, people who operate without a conscience, he's not guessing, okay? He's been up close with this darkness. He has lived inside of the persecution. He knows what it looks like when somebody operates from a place of pure self-interest, with no regard for the damage that they cause to other people. Okay, he knows what it's like to be in close proximity to narcissists. And he loved Timothy like a son. The letter that he wrote to him was not a sermon. It was a personal letter from a seasoned man to a young man that he deeply invested in. He was essentially saying, son, I need you to see what I see. I need you to be prepared for what's coming so that when you encounter it, okay, when you deal with it, because you will not be destroyed by it. That relationship that Paul had with Timothy, that is exactly what I believe God has called me to be for some of the women in this community. Because here's the thing, when you are inside of something, you can't always see it clearly. You're kind of way too close. You're too emotionally invested. You have too much history with it. You have too much love in it. There's too much hope tied to this person to really see exactly what someone on the outside can see in 5 minutes. See, I know because I lived it. I was in my marriage for 10 years, or actually it was 11 years before I finally had to face what I actually was dealing with. Y'all, 11 years. And when that finally clicked for me, when I finally couldn't explain it away anymore, I want to tell you, I was in shock. Okay, like for real, I was shocked. Like, oh my goodness, I think I married a narcissist. How did I not know? And that's the thing about narcissistic abuse. It doesn't just announce itself. It's gradual, y'all. It's quiet, it's subtle. It's so slow that by the time you realize what happened, you done lost like 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. This is why people are in these types of relationships for decades. Okay? Plural, decades. And you've already lost yourself in it. Okay. And then you go through all of it. You go through the shock and the denial and the anger and the grief and the bargaining. And, you read every book that you can get your hands on. Maybe I'm just telling my own testimony, but, I don't know if you're like me, but you're just really trying to find answers. You're trying to find the book, that one book that says that he can change. Because everything that you hear is, oh my God, they never change and they never this and they never the 1% and all of the things, right? When you're in it, you really don't want to face the fact that you are in a relationship with a narcissist. You think that, maybe there's some way out of this, where they'll be healed and they're going to, turn to God and their hearts are going to soften. You need there to be a way out that doesn't just blow your whole life up. So I read everything. I was up at 2 a.m. reading forums and Reddit, right? I was on Reddit. I was watching YouTube videos. I was highlighting books. I was trying to find one person who said, mine changed. My narcissist changed. Because if one person did, then maybe mine would too. And it took me a while, okay? It took me a long time to really come to the truth, right? The knowledge of the truth and really face it. So I say all of this to say, I'm not here to pressure you, okay? I'm not here to tell you what to do with your marriage. If you're still in it, I'm not here to bash you or to criticize you or to condemn you at all. I want you to know that I see you. I understand why you're still there. I know how hard it is to leave something that you've built your whole life around. I get it, but what I want to do today really is just to give you clarity, because sometimes you don't need somebody to tell you what to do. You just need somebody to help you see what you're actually looking at. You don't want to pick up another book. You want to hear somebody's real life experience. So that's what I'm going to give you today. So these are the 5 signs from my life, my experience, from what I've walked through and what my clients have walked through. These are signs that would tell me that you're probably in a relationship with a narcissist. And just know that I'm speaking to women. Majority of you that listen to any of my content. Majority of you that come on my page, all of y'all are women, and that's fine because you are who God has called me to speak to and to pour into, to love and to nurture. And so, but also use your wisdom with this. You know that narcissists are operating from a Jezebel spirit. That spirit operates in male and female. Okay, so let's just be clear. I'm not male bashing. I'm just speaking to my audience. I'm speaking to my metron. Okay. Now that we're clear, sign number 1, narcissists tell you what you're feeling. Now, this has to be one of the most common things that narcissists do, and it's crazy, okay? It's incredibly destabilizing because a narcissist will tell you what you're feeling even when that's not even what you're feeling at all. They don't ask you how you feel. They don't seek to understand you deeply, okay? They declare what your emotions are as if they have authority over your whole inner world. You might say something like, that really hurt me. And they say back to you, they're like, well, you're being dramatic and you're just insecure and you're just angry and you're just this and you're just that. And no, you said this and you are saying that. And it's because of this and it's because of that, and the moment you try to correct them, the moment you say, nah, man, that's just not what I'm feeling, all of a sudden that conversation turns into an argument about you. So now you're defending yourself, you're defending your emotions, and over time this just becomes really, really annoying. And what they're doing here is overriding your emotional reality. And that's not a communication problem, that's a control problem. See, narcissists want to control the narrative of the relationship. And one way that they do this is by controlling how your emotions are interpreted. If they can define your feelings, they can dismiss them. But your emotions belong to you. God gave them to you for a reason. They are signals, they are information. They help you recognize when something is healthy and when something is wrong. So when somebody consistently tells you that you're feeling something instead of listening to you, right? They're not trying to understand you. They're not trying to get you, right? They're trying to dominate the emotional space of that relationship. And that is a major sign that you're dealing with a narcissist. All right, moving on to sign number 2. You can't remember the last time he genuinely celebrated you. Now, let me be specific about what I mean by this, because this is not just about him forgetting your birthday or not planning a nice anniversary for you, right? This just goes a little bit deeper than that. You watch this man light up for other people. You watch him light up for his mom. She calls and his whole energy just shifts, okay? He's just warm and, giddy and giggling and engaged and present. Now his coworkers, his boys, his sister and brother, all of them call and he just goes out of his way for them, right? He'll plan a whole trip. He'll rent the cabin. He'll take them out on the boat and, he'll just go all out without anybody having to ask. And you're just sitting there looking at this like, are you kidding me? Who is this person? Like, who are you? Because that man does not come home to me like this. He does not go out of his way for me like this. So when it comes to you, right, all that light just isn't there. You're not even made to feel important, okay? You're not even made to feel seen. You're not the priority. You're somewhere at the bottom of the list behind everybody else and everything else in his life. And I know this is really painful to hear, honestly, really just to really think about the truth of this. But I need you to hear it clearly because you deserve to see this for what it is. Okay? I think sometimes the truth does hurt, but Jesus says that you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. So here's why I want you to know the truth. And this is the part that unlocks it all, really. This man doesn't go out of his way for you because he doesn't want to go out of his way for you. It's because his reputation matters more to him than you do. Everything that he does publicly, everything that he does for others, all of that generosity and that warmth, okay, that he gives to everybody else except for you, that is for an image. That is for the facade. That is for how he looks to the world. You are behind closed doors, okay? You already know him. You already seen him naked, okay? You can't add to his image. So you don't get the performance, okay? Everybody else gets the acting and the performance and the facade, but you don't get that because why? You know him. Paul really, he described this as boasters and proud and lovers of their own selves. And what that produces in a marriage is a man who saves all of his best for the people who can applaud him. You're just, you're not being loved. You're being managed, really. And there's a difference in that. So, yeah, that's number two. That's the second sign that you are most likely married to a narcissist. Okay, sign number three. Your peace is completely dependent on his mood. All right, let's paint a little picture. I like parables. I like pictures. I like to really look at this for what it is. Because I know some of you are going through this right now. And yeah, this might resonate with you. So you pull up to the house after work. You sit in the car, not for like, a minute, You sit in that bad boy for like 20 minutes because you're just mentally and emotionally preparing yourself for whatever. What do I mean by whatever? I mean whatever. You just really don't know what you're about to walk into. So you're just sitting there in the driveway doing a whole internal assessment. You're like, okay, what kind of day did he have? What was his mood like this morning before I left? I forgot. Is he gonna be calm or what? Like what am I about to walk into? And then there are days where you walk into that house and there's music playing and the energy is light and everything just feels homey and good and almost feels like how it was in the beginning. And you're able to actually breathe. And those days feel like a gift, right? Like you can finally be in your own home without bracing for impact. And then 2 days later, or maybe a week later, or whatever cycle he has you on, okay, because it's a cycle, you're dealing with a completely different person. Okay, you're dealing with the Joker. You are dealing with this grown man who is throwing whatever he can at you, okay, like a full-blown 6th grade 2-year-old temper tantrum, and you just standing there looking at him like, what is this? I can't even believe this is my life. Okay, this can't be real. And some of you, and I need to say this, some of you have started recording it because it's so obnoxious. You've started, recording it because you can't even fathom how to explain it if it ever needs to be explained. Okay, so you need to have proof of it because it's obnoxious. And you don't know why, right? Because it's so unhinged, so out of nowhere, so disconnected from reality that you just need documentation. Okay, you need evidence. You just maybe for court, I don't know. But you just need proof that what you've experienced actually happened the way that you remember it. And if you feel like you're doing that, maybe that's a sign. God is giving you a sign, okay? That this is not him. This is not normal. Okay? God wants you to have peace. Not as something that you have to earn on his good days. Okay? Jesus said, "My peace I give to you." That peace is yours. It lives on the inside of you. Okay? It is not supposed to be rationed based on whatever mood somebody else woke up in. Okay? If your peace has been held hostage in your own home, that is not a rough season. That is a pattern. And that is a sign from God. Okay? So open your eyes, ladies. Open your eyes. This is actually one of the major ones. Is you're walking on eggshells every day. Okay. Sign number 4. You start hiding things not because you're being deceptive, but because you're trying to survive. So this is the sign that tells me something has shifted inside of you, because this is the moment where you actually stop trying to fix it and you just start trying to prepare, really. You've emotionally checked out. You're like, all right, this is what it is. You just take it for what it is. You kind of got a shoulder shrug and you're like, God, it's just me and you. So this is a sign where this is a stage actually where some of you start to quietly put money away, not a whole lot, maybe just like a little bit, just enough, just in case. You start separating your assets in your mind and trying to figure out what's yours, and you start making sure that you have access to what you need if something go down. You start thinking about the logistics, the kids, the house, what you need, where would you go? Who would you call? And maybe you feel even a little bit crazy for thinking about it like this, but because you're still in the marriage, but you still go home every night to this person, but there's something in you that has changed and you can't really unsee it. And I want you to know that a woman who quietly makes sure that she and her children have a way out is not a disloyal wife. She is a woman who has finally started listening to what everything around her has been screaming for years. This woman is in survival. This woman is using wisdom. This woman is listening to God as He's telling her to start moving even before she knows where she's going. So when you get to this sign from God, when you find yourself here, please hear me. That is not fear talking to you. That is clarity, and clarity is a gift. So if God is giving you the clarity, if God is giving you the wisdom, if God has been speaking to your spirit saying, hey, put some money up. Okay? Go ahead, move this around. Okay? He is helping you. He is providing a way of escape. He is giving you knowledge and wisdom to know, hey, this is your way out. So, okay. And last but not least, let's move on to sign number 5. Sign number 5 is that something in your spirit knew before you ever walked down the aisle that this wasn't it. So, if you can go back, and I mean really go back, before the wedding, before the engagement, before you were all the way in, before you tied the knot, there were signs. Okay, there were red flags, not one or two, but several. There were things that God was showing you that just made you pause. Things that just didn't sit right in your spirit. Moments where something in your gut said, wait, hold on. Something ain't adding up here. Something doesn't feel right here. And like many of us, okay, we ignored every single one of them. Not because we were stupid, not because we were weak, but because we were kind. Because we are loving. Because we are the kind of women who see potential, right? We see potential in people and we believe the best in people. We believe it. We believe in them even when they can't even see it in themselves. Okay. That's the kind of woman you and I are. We have a generous heart, and we genuinely thought, if I love him well enough, if I'm patient enough, if I pray hard enough, if I just give him enough time, he will become who I know he can be. And y'all, that is so toxic, right? That is absolutely toxic. But subconsciously, this is what a lot of us think. And you and I, we didn't know what narcissism was. Most of us didn't, right? We weren't taught to look for it. We were taught to love people through their brokenness. And although that does sound Christ-like and that sounds very much God-like, some people are a job for Jesus. Some people are not able to, you're not going to be able to help them. Okay, let's just put it in simple terms like that. You're not going to be able to help them. And so that is what you and I did. We loved and we loved and we loved so much until we were empty. And then guess what? After we were empty, we loved a little bit more. Okay? But the Holy Spirit was trying to show you. God was trying to warn you. Those feelings before the wedding, that uneasiness, that hesitation, that thing that you just couldn't shake, the arguments between the families, right? The drama that was going on, all of that was signs from God. That was your discernment. And discernment is a gift from God, okay? And here's the thing about God. God is so good. God is so good. He's so merciful. He's so graceful. He doesn't take that back. Even when we set it aside, he doesn't say, okay, give me my discernment back. You don't know how to use my discernment, so I want it back. He doesn't do that. God is still giving you signs right now. God is still showing you things right now. You can't go back to that time before the wedding, right? You can't undo a lot of the stuff that has happened. But what you can surely do now is you can trust what God is showing you now. You can trust what he's revealing to you now. You can start listening to his voice now. Get into that word. Get into your Bible, okay? Listen to what he's telling you. Move forward in the things that he's showing you, and you will not regret it. I promise you, you will not regret it. Because why? Right here, when you get serious about really listening to your spirit, really tuning in and tapping in to God's voice and how he's warning you and how he's showing you things and how he's giving you wisdom and, understanding and revelation, that is where your healing will begin. So now some of you are sitting with this thinking, okay, this is my life. Okay. She got it. This is what I've been dealing with. What do I do now? Well, the first thing that you want to do is pray, not the edited version, but the real version. You go to God and you ask him to create a way of escape. And that's going to look a little different for everybody. Okay. There's no one size fits all to every answer here. But God knows your situation. He knows it personally. He knows everything that feels impossible about leaving. He knows your children and what they like and what they need and all of the things that you need. And he's still able to make a way of escape. I also want to say, I know it's hard to talk about this with people because most people in your life, they have no idea what you're experiencing. And if you've never dealt with a narcissist, you genuinely cannot understand it from the outside. So we can't really be mad at them, right? And that can make you feel sometimes alone, but there are people who get it out here. There's a YouTube community of people who talk about narcissistic abuse all the time. I will name a few. There's Dr. Ramani. She's incredible. She's a clinical psychologist. She's an author. She's a professor. She talks about narcissism, all things narcissism. There's Sam Vaknin. He's actually a narcissist, but he's the author of Malignant Self-Love, Narcissism Revisited. And, he's a little difficult to understand. He has a little accent, but he is so knowledgeable about this. There's Richard Grannon. He talks about, I can't remember where he's from, but he talks about covert narcissists, emotional manipulation, trauma bonds, all the things. There's Dr. Carmen Bryant. I think I'm saying her name right. She's absolutely incredible. And she'll even give you the spiritual side of this, right? Kind of like me, how we just kind of go into the book. But I believe she is a licensed psychologist, and I believe she's also opening up a coaching kind of teaching school thingy. But anyway, she is excellent. There's Dr. Les Carter. I believe he is now in retirement, but there's so many videos that he has put out there about surviving narcissism, and I love his accent. He's a country guy. Did I mention Lisa Romano? I don't think I mentioned her, but she's good too. She's a narcissistic abuse recovery coach like me. She's excellent. And there's just so many, y'all. There's so many, and you are not alone. Okay. You are not alone. I need you to hear me when I say that. You are not alone. There are people who get it, people who have been in it, and people who have come out on the other side. And I'm one of those people. I am more than happy to get on a call with you and pray with you and help you to get clarity on your next steps. And for those of you who are already out, but you feel stuck, like you lost yourself somewhere in that marriage and you just don't know how to get back, I have resources available for you. All links will be in the description. But before I go, I have this really important thing I want to talk about real quick, and then we're going to wrap this up. And hopefully you stayed to the end to hear this, because I think this is something that you don't want to miss. If a narcissist is incapable of real love, if they're unwilling to submit to God, if they're unwilling to grow, if they're spending all of their energy protecting a facade, then why did they marry you? You ever think about that? Do you ever ask yourself that question? Why would you even enter a covenant with me if you never intended to honor it? So here's what I believe, and I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna head out. I believe many narcissists enter marriage as a cover. I do. I believe they enter marriages as a cover up. Marriage becomes a hiding place for them. It's a way to present something to the world that says, hey, yeah, look at me. I'm normal. Yep. I'm married. I'm normal. I've got my wife. I got my husband, whatever you are. I'm stable, right? I am who I say I am, right? Maybe not who God says they are, but they think they are who they say they are. Because what is actually happening on the inside, the unresolved trauma, the identity confusion, the things that they're really wrestling with themselves, really, that they're really not ready to face, right? None of that can survive in the light. So what do? They cover it in a marriage. They build a life with you that keeps everything in the dark. Some of you, if you sit with that, things are going to start making sense that never made sense before. Hopefully, you are picking up what I just put down. Okay. Some of you might get it if you have eyes to see and ears to hear. So the rage, okay, the control, the way his anger always just comes out at you. First of all, I want you to know you're not the problem. Okay. But I'm sorry to say this, you're probably the cover. And this may not be for everybody, okay? But I believe this is for most of us out here that were in relationships with narcissists. We were a cover, right? The way that he treated you was the cost of keeping what he was hiding hidden. So I hope you can hear what I'm not saying. But like I said, if God opens your eyes to see and your ears to hear what I'm saying, then you'll get what I'm trying to say. So you deserve better than that. You still do. I want you to go pray, get clarity, and then when you're ready, I'm here. All right, y'all. I'm Sherry, and this is Hindsight is 2020, because you can only see it clearly when you look back sometimes. But today, God is giving you eyes to see it right now. All right. I'll see you in the next episode. Love you. Bye.